This is a short story called Heyons Craw. She had watched the Victory Parade in 1982. Her mates said she'd flashed her boobs for the sailors. It wasn't true, but Joan had got tired of denying it. As she set off for the waterfront 40 years later to watch the boats come in, Joan remembered how, back then, she'd seen the troop ships on TV slowly turning into the dock. She'd only got as far as the park when she saw the steel prow of the first cattle boat pierce through the dockside and carve its way across road and car park and, grinding and howling, onto the turf laid more than a century ago over the old riverbed, churning up pipes and culverts that threw jets of spray into the air like the water salute of fireboats. But there was nothing to celebrate. The buntingless crowds around the park stood in silence. The fleet of rust buckets was headed by the Craw, registered in a distant port, captained by the mysterious Abram Heyon, who long ago had stopped answering his radio. For 2 years now, the Craw and its fleet had been silently wandering the seas, its cargo of cattle turned away from port after port. Rumours of blue tongue had started it. Then no one wanted to receive the emaciated cattle. Now they didn't want the cadavers. The assumption was that nothing was left alive on board. Yet the fleet continued to drift across the oceans and now up the channel and into the estuary, coming to rest in what had been the bed of the old creek, drained to make playing fields. Joan sat on a bench in shock. The halted Craw was still. Only a gentle creaking ran up and down the park, followed by a deep yawn, a smell like a just-opened tin of anchovies, and then the side port of the boat fell open with a clang as its ramp hammered down on the broken turf. For a while it seemed that nothing was disembarking, till Joan noticed, just above the grass, a mist of orange flies and pink spiders with green wings, and how the blades of grass on the playing field shook this way and that, pushing by the snaking of translucent intestines. From the side of the boat, long tails appeared. Beneath them, sore-looking eyes, caked with dust and tears, stared blankly as hairy tentacles at the ends of the tails reached out into the light, feeling for a world backwards. The inverted beast heaved down the ramp, a heavy, legless sack of flesh, trailing horns that ploughed ridges in the grass. The Craw shook violently, and its doorway bulged as something massive began to push its way out. An unfeasible concatenation of organisms emerged, a cat's cradle of sinew stringing together the girth of a whale-like lozenge of purplish meat and hair, walking on legs of skinless bone, shards of giant femur snapping on the steel ramp as the mutant giant stumbled onto the playing field and began to drag its bulk towards the ancient source of the buried river, digging its leg bones into the soil. Then the roar came, a mixture of complaining metal, the snort of angry bull and the whinny of a libidinous mare. The Craw folded in on itself, its frame crumpling like a cheap drinks can, and then unfolded in a hybrid of boat and organism, with teeth torn from steel, hauling a furry mat of patterned hide, pylons for horns, its giant gut lolling from its mouth like a huge blue tongue. And in the centre of its drooping belly, still recognisable, the form of Captain Abram Heyon, his fingers dangling like the teats of a milkless udder. What had I expected, Joan thought to herself. Things had seemed so colourful back in 1982, red, white and blue. Now they stood for bone, blood and poisoned tongue. From the fear and meanness of many nations had come the fabulous communal beast to compost all the colours. A long white bone was scraping along the path towards her, dragging an articulated joint and a tail of rotted tissue. From its chin hung dripping and swishing things. The critter looked hungry, thirsty and despairing. Joan began to unbutton her blouse.
Sitting under moonlight, the stars are watching me, and I'm waiting for the sunrise with its birdsong symphony. Around an open campfire, my friends are here with me, and I tell the Great Spirit that I'm grateful just to be. Rises up and it kisses me with its light, and the daisies in the grass are opening up in their delight. A warmth on my skin and a breeze in my hair and a peace in my heart as I've forgotten all my cares. Oh, the miracle of life. But the miracle stays with us, and this we'll always know that we have this beauty inside us all the time. Just say yes to who you are and know that you will be just fine. Oh, the miracle of life. Oh, the miracle of life. Oh, the miracle of life. Oh, the miracle of
These dark days, when the world is at an end, the only thing that stops me going round the bend, the thing that stops us all whining, is apocalypse dining. Although we're cannibals to some, you should really try and come. We can share our favourite dishes, even if it is against their wishes. Slay McGough Davey has much greater appeal once you turn him into a tasty meal. His little legs taste splendid, well, better than that guy Ben did. So if the end of the world grows dull, join me in my little cull. No more looking for veg or mining. Join me for some apocalypse dining.
It really is.